Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the show times tomorrow, no changes. Looks like everything's kind of settled into a unchanging time frame here, at least for now, with APB at 5:30, same thing for KUAC at 9.4, 360 north 7:30, and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for Alaska Public Media. And satellite imagery from yesterday showed mostly clear skies here out over the Bering Sea from Bristol Bay. A few clouds right there on up in across the interior. Some clouds, upper trough had dug southward across the eastern interior, and that pulled some clouds all the way down to the Alaska Range, but still a pretty good day there across much of the Copper River Basin. Out west, not much going on at all. In fact, a very nice day, both wind and weather-wise, across the central and western Aleutians. Some moisture right through here, bringing some rainfall into the Fox Islands and Alaska Peninsula. And then we saw an area of clouds here, northeast to southwest, due to southwesterly flow aloft, bringing fairly good rainfall in across Sitka, Port Alexander, and a little ways inland there. Now there's no satellite images for today were missing. The bin was completely empty when I went to pull them over. Otherwise, so I'll just kind of explain this area here. Shifted northward, really hasn't moved a lot from where it was here yesterday. And the heavier rainfall was farther north, or the heavier rain and snow was farther north across the southeast coast there, and also obviously across south central Alaska, the Copper River Basin. Clouds increased with precipitation pulling westward during the afternoon, much more in the way of shower activity over the Prince William Sound area and the North Gulf Coast. Started out as snow, like at Cordova, this morning, and other areas here across Prince William Sound. That became more rain in the afternoon, so just shaded in as pink here, with also rain and snow over the panhandle here, over the northern areas, and fairly, again, decent rainfall amounts in the last 24 hours, with Elfin Cove picking up 1.25 inches of rain, while Juneau had a shade over 1 inch. And Gustavus had just under 1 inch, 0.90 to be exact, in the 24-hour period ending at 4 p.m. this afternoon. And actually some embedded thunderstorm activity showing up just off the coast here and right along that trough. In advance, it was drier down to the south, and some snow flurries here along the Alaska Range, and then this area of moisture pulling westward. And by this afternoon had gotten as far east as the Chugach Mountains. They're just east of Anchorage, but basically dry back to the west. Pretty good winds. East-northeasterlies are mostly northeast, anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour across interior Alaska, mostly from the Koyukuk, Upper Yukon Valley southward, and that extended right down to the southwest coast, with Kaliganek seeing gusts to at least 40 miles per hour. Same thing there at Cape Newenham. Lighter winds up to the north, a lot lighter winds out to the southeast there. This trough pushing southwest of the Pribilofs today, so they were right on the edge actually of getting into some clearing skies. It's just off to your east, but that's flowing right down almost right across Unalaska Island. And Unalaska picked up about at least 1/3 of an inch of rain in the, well, actually they picked up 1/3 of an inch of rain during the day today, and the 24-hour amount was heavier than that. Lighter amounts though here across the western Alaska Peninsula, just a few hundredths of an inch. And then this area here, just grazing the west central Aleutians, a little bit of moisture possibly getting into the AKwx area. And up to the north, areas of light snow from the central north slope right down to the Brooks Range on out to the eastern Arctic coast. And for tonight, again, with this trough off the coast and the main low in the Gulf of Alaska, southerly flow, so the low snow levels will begin to go up here across much of the panhandle. So could be some significant amounts of snow with any elevation at all. Of course, that's going to depend on the time of night tonight, your elevation, of course, and also your latitude. In fact, not much in the way of any precipitation in the picture for areas down toward Dixon Entrance, but easterly flow pulling some areas of light snow westward, the Wrangell Mountains on up into the eastern Tanana Valley, there northway maybe Tok, and then some areas of light snow back to the west and then southwest, and also some rain or snow mostly over the southern Cook Inlet area down in toward Seldovia. Mostly dry for Kodiak Island, but winds stay quite gusty. Wind advisories out for much of the interior areas for especially the higher elevations, seeing gusts in excess of 40 miles per hour. So not much change from what you've seen today, maybe a tad stronger. Northerly winds 15 to 30, 35 miles an hour here blowing across the Alaska Peninsula. Lighter out toward Cold Bay actually and Falls Pass to the eastern Aleutians. Stay in the shower threat across Unalaska Island. And again, you're just on the outer edge of this system to the south there as far as precipitation goes for AKwx and Atka, and kind of a decreasing mode now for that area of light snow up along the Arctic coast. Just some patchy areas of light snow, flurries and fog. Picked up about maybe ½ an inch in the last 24 hours out along the coast there, maybe a little bit more in toward the Brooks Range, but lighter amounts coming up with high pressure settling in just about right on top of Barrow. And moving along to the outlook for tomorrow, showers mostly over the southern Bering Sea, just scattered showers, northerly winds now instead of the more northwest direction we've seen, and but still not all that strong out there with maybe some gusts 30, possibly 40 miles an hour, and that's about it. Low pressure here over the southern Seward Peninsula at about 981 millibars tomorrow afternoon. Southwest flow here and a frontal system there along the southeast coast. Look for some areas of gale force winds, which is actually occurring today out there with that system, but another one develops and moves in. And again, snowfall levels will continue to rise, so it could start out on the mixed with a mixed precipitation pattern, mostly up towards Skagway, Haines, Klondike Highway, and then just plain rain on down to the south. Kind of a mixed precipitation pattern continuing for the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, portions of the Kenai Peninsula, mostly the southern areas, and into southern Cook Inlet, but amounts quite light. Areas of light snow here over the eastern interior, say from Eagle on down to Northway, Tok, maybe Delta, depending on how far west that makes it, but otherwise just variably cloudy. Another windy day again across the interior. Right out now, mostly to the Yukon Delta coast. Looks like things will lighten up here from Kuskokwim to Togiak Bay, and not too bad on the winds here actually for Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. No change out to the west, still looking at scattered showers, partial clearing there, and just some northerly breezes, high pressure in over the north slope. Actually, this flurry and fog condition kind of trapped under the high center there on the east side, but look for better weather off to the west. And for Tuesday, got another system here, low pressure now south of Kodiak Island, east-southeast flow around the northeast side of that system. Looks like it'll push a trough. That'll put you prone for increasing wind and rain, especially during the afternoon hours there for the east side of Kodiak Island. Otherwise, still a threat of some rain and snow showers, mixed precipitation, Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet. Again, northern Cook Inlet into the valleys. Nothing at all, just dry conditions, maybe some clearing skies as well. These flurries from the northern Kuskokwim Valley up along the Alaska Range, quite light. Same thing for the Wrangell Mountains. dry up over the interior, but you'll notice a gradient much less now, so winds will definitely be much lighter here through the central interior. Still a little breezy along the southwest coast, but not too bad, although there's still small craft advisories out for Tuesday there in the marine areas. More northerly on those winds, so showers here for the eastern Aleutians and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. High pressure building in out to the west ahead of the next front, trying to push some rain in toward Shimei and Attu. Up to the north, pretty nice conditions. Ridging of high pressure now centered over the Mackenzie River Delta. And a little bit of moisture bringing a chance of some light snow from Point Lay all the way over to Barrow, but the bulk of the moisture remaining to the north and northwest of the area, at least through Tuesday afternoon. A trough keeps numerous showers going over the southeast coast there, and just scattered showers for the North Gulf Coast. And looking at temperatures this afternoon, quite a range from the mid to upper 30s here over the northern areas to the lower 50s. Heidelberg up to 52, Sitka 48, 42 degrees at Yakutat, about the same at Cordova. Valdez at 37, 20s here in the Copper River Basin, with temperatures in the Tanana Valley, 27 there at Fairbanks Northway, 19 degrees. And a little farther to the north, we've got a 31 both at Tanana and Bettles, 14 at Anatuvik, 22 over at Arctic Village. Umiat Airfield, 24 degrees and mid to upper 20s across all of the Arctic coast today. And that warms into the lower 30s here across the northwest with 32. Shishmaref, Kotzebue, and Deering, 28 degrees there at Point Hope. Otherwise, there's a 35 at Nome, 39 Savunga, and a 29 at McGrath, and that warms up to about 34 down there at Bethel, with upper 30s along the coast, 40s and lower 50s out across the Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula. Lows for tonight, single numbers, Copper River Basin, and 5 to 15-ish here over the eastern interior up to the Brooks Range. Otherwise, 20s for the Arctic coast. Teens and 20s to lower 30s with the warmest conditions, of course, out toward the coastline there. 30s to lower 40s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, 45 to 50 here across the southeast coast. 35 to 40 south central Alaska. Upper 20s for the Copper River Basin. And coldest through the Brooks Range, 35 to 40 here, Yukon Delta to the southern Seward Peninsula, even the north side though up into the mid-30s, and 40s Alaska Peninsula to the upper 40s over the Aleutians. Flying weather showing IFR hanging mostly off the coast tomorrow morning, but some of that again sneaking up into southern Cook Inlet and possibly along the mountains here, the coastal mountains, and looks like conditions will continue to be lowest here over the northern Panhandle. Marginal IFR, eastern Arctic coast, not too bad here along the west coast with the Pribilofs into the VFR, marginal VFR farther to the west. Tomorrow afternoon, IFR possible here over the eastern interior, again from about Eagle roughly southward, marginal to areas of IFR on the north side of the Alaska Range. IFR for sure for the Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay area on up to the passes and across Passage Canal. Otherwise, pretty good VFR over the remainder of interior Alaska and just some areas of marginal VFR, mostly out to the west in the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Anatuvik, Gadigan, both VFR tomorrow, as well as Lake Clark, Merrill, Rainy, VFR. Although Isabel and Mentasta, marginal VFR at times throughout the day tomorrow. And for Tanita, though, VFR. Portage, IFR at times, especially on the eastern entrance. And for Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels 2,000 to 4,000 feet again here across the southeast coast. Otherwise, 2,000 feet now south of Kodiak Island, out to Cold Bay, just southeast of the Pribilofs. Icing above about 4,000 to 6,000 feet, northern Panhandle, and then gets a little more spottier here over the southeast interior, across the Barren Islands into western Cook Inlet, and less of a threat out over the Alaska Peninsula, and possibility of some way out there west. Upper level wind flow chart, this upper low now pulling back to the southwest, so we've got north-northeasterly winds sailing southward here up to 100 knots there across the Yukon Delta, back around to the southwest at 90 knots right over Yakutat and the main Pacific jet down to the south. for 9,000 feet. Pretty brisk tomorrow, east 35 to 45, turn northeast here, wrapping back around but diminishing as they cross the Alaska Peninsula. South-southeast 25 to 35 across the Panhandle. 3,000 foot wind, southeast 20 to 25 here for the southeast coast. Northeast 30 to 40 knots right through the central interior. Again, turning south, diminishing 20 to 25 across the peninsula. Up to 35 for the central Aleutians. Pretty light variable winds there for the North Slope and Arctic coast. Turbulence-wise, a swath of moderate chop forecast here from the Upper Yukon Valley, northeast all the way southwest there to just west of the Pribilofs. Light to isolated moderate chop for the Alaska Peninsula on out to Kiska Island. And a little bumpy possibly, but nothing that's going to hurt you here along the Panhandle and the North Gulf Coast. And after the break, I'll return to look at the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
We have cleaned over 1,500 miles of shoreline now.
Basically, it comes down to just human muscle. I mean, we use chainsaws and knives.
We find stuff from like Russia and China and Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We all just have to clean it out.
Our goal right now in the next 10 or 11 days before the end of this year is just to see how much we can collect before we get to remove it.
What you see on the beach is a fraction of what's out there. You can pretty much break it down into 3 or 4 things. Water bottles, a lot of water bottles, styrofoam, fishing nets, fishing buoys. And that's 99% of what you find on the beach. Basically just go along with chainsaws and muscle and get the garbage, put it in sacks, and then from there we haul it up above the log jam so it's out of any heavy surf or winter storms if it's going to stay there for the year, and put it in super sacks. So yeah, we just progressively work down the coast, just day in and day out.
We have like daily goals for ourselves that, like, if we're working at a pretty good rate, we'd like to keep on pace with about, like, I don't know, about 20 to 25 super sacks a day. So this is pile 102, and in this pile right now we have 2 super sacks and 1 set of buoys. June 23rd here, this is what we've done today. We're up to 25 super sacks on the day, and I think for now we'll call it and just keep cleaning until tomorrow.
My name is Hannah, and I represent a organization in Japan called Japan Environmental Action Network. With over 20 people working together to clean up the beach, this is amazing. Like, we all need to work together to, clean up the beach as much as possible. So like every single time I go back to Japan, I talk to the fishermen, and the fishermen's like, it's a joke, but they're like, if you find any buoy with my logo, you gotta bring it back, and it's like always looking out for that stuff.
The crew's awesome. I mean, we're all skiers or snowboarders, and we're all friends. I mean, we're all good friends. My dad started it. He's the man behind the desk. He makes the ball roll for sure. He works hard. He doesn't give up easy, which is good.
This stuff is uplifted quite a ways during the earthquake. Well, I think my bag's about full already. Yep. I'm gonna take a quick look back in here. Somebody else is back here. The thing about marine debris is it's kind of a hidden problem. Unless you're out there, especially on these remote beaches that are so heavily impacted, people don't see it. I remember probably a good 20 years ago, I was out on the outside of Montague Island, flew out there, and I was just utterly astounded by all the garbage out there. You walk out there and you wade through this stuff and you go, this isn't right, this shouldn't happen.
I think a lot of it's just awareness. I mean, I've been boating out here for a long time and I wasn't even aware of how extensive the marine debris problem is out here, but it's a consumer world out there for sure. I mean, I don't know where people's values are, I guess, but mine is you got to kind of have a little bit of respect for the environment and considering we live in it. Especially in Alaska, I mean, a lot of people like the outdoors and like to be part of the outdoors. That's why they live here, and it's they don't necessarily want to see it trashed.
Welcome back. Inside the barrier islands here, new ice from Cape Helicat all the way over to Demarcation Point, and really not much expected to form on the north side of the barrier islands there. Over the next several days, water temperatures are still above freezing. The bay here, southeast of Barrow, iced over, and some new ice here from Icy Cape a little bit to the northwest and then down past Point Lay. For southeast winds, look for southeast winds, small craft advisories. Stevens Passes down to Clarence Strait tomorrow up to 25 knots, lighter for northern Lynn Canal, and 20 to 25 knots along the southeast coast with 10-foot seas. And then for Tuesday, south 15 here for a good portion of the coast. North side though, southeast at 20. Light variable winds, slight seas for northern Lynn Canal, all Lynn Canal, southeast 15 to 20 on down to the south. Prince William Sound, northeast 30 knots tomorrow. Gales out for Cook Inlet from the northeast, turning north south of the Forelands. Northwest gales from Kamashack Bay, and gale force winds 30 to 35 knots here for the North Gulf Coast. Strongest on the east side there, west at 30, Kodiak Island. And then for Tuesday, winds come down to 20 knots, northern Cook Inlet, 15 knots for Prince William Sound, and still looking at some gales here. The Barren Islands down along the east side of Kodiak Island, north 30 for Shelikof Strait, south of the Forelands for the inlet, northeast 30 knots into Kamishak Bay. And north 25, Bristol Bay tomorrow, that same wind pattern all the way down the Bering Sea side of the coastline of the peninsula, and northwest 25 to 30 knots. For Tuesday, northeast 35 knots, so that's good for some gale force winds from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. North 25 across the peninsula, northeast 25 for Bristol Bay. Aleutians, northerlies to northeast, 20 to 30 knots here, that dropping off as you head out west. And then for Tuesday, west 15 for the western Aleutians, small craft advisories from Adak all the way over to Unalaska Island. And for the southwest coast, gale force winds here, north of Nunivak Island, 30 knots St. Lawrence Island, northerlies 25 for the Bering Sea to the Pribilofs. And for Tuesday, north to northeast, 30 knots for the coast, and northerlies at 30 for the Pribilofs, 25 for both St. Matthew and St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coast, pretty light variable winds here on the east side, eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, west 10 for the central coast, and just east to southeast to northeast there for the west side all the way down to the Bering Strait. And then for Tuesday, still kind of a variable wind condition, but basically southwest here for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast to southwest 20 there for the central coast. And then back to that variable stuff in the 5 to 15 knot range on the north side all the way down in toward the Bering Strait. And for tonight again, rain and snow. Snowfall levels gradually coming up tonight, and then flurries, gusty winds, wind advisories out for the interior tonight again, diminishing snow and fog there for the eastern Arctic coast and North Slope. And then tomorrow, rain, again, those freezing levels coming up to 2,000 to 4,000 feet, and mixture of precipitation back into Prince William Sound. And there's the outlook for Tuesday.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
My job is to find a way to say something really essential so that you come out of your car or you take out your earphones and you know a little bit more about what's happening around you. Welcome to Alaska Edition. I'm your host, Zachariah Hughes. My favorite part of my job